Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing? This is Case from Q101. Normally, when you see me on Q101's YouTube channel, I am talking to an upcoming band, trying to get you excited about the world of music. But I have a very special guest here today, somebody of a much higher stature than I am used to talking to. It is the founder of All Elite Wrestling, Tony Khan. Tony, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me on, Case.
Oh my God, this is an absolute pleasure. I wanna jump right into it because currently, throughout the year on AEW, you've introduced the stars of CMLL, and as we approach All Out in Chicago, Chicago has such a rich history of lucha libre, with AAA running here in the early '90s, and all the great lucha independent groups that run here currently. Can you talk a little bit about how the CMLL relationship formed, and how navigating the politics of both CMLL and then also still booking AAA talent has come to be?
These are great questions. The relationship really started up last year. We've been working with New Japan Pro Wrestling for several years, and they're great partners with CMLL, and now we are too. I met Salvador Lutheroff, the owner and proprietor of CMLL, last year. He came and visited us. It was a great meeting. He's a very honorable man. I have so much respect for Salvador and his family and what they built, and I think he runs a great company, and I love working with CMLL. We're trying to build a top lucha libre promotion. We have a lot of great stars and have been really excited to introduce stars from CMLL, including Mystico, one of the biggest stars ever anywhere on the planet. And then to have Mystico teaming with our homegrown star Hologram, I thought that was really exciting. And I think we have a really great homegrown talent there in Hologram, who, he's gotten experience in other promotions, but it's the debut of Hologram on Collision, and it's been going really well. So lots of exciting things happening in the world of lucha libre, and it's great working with different promotions all over the world. There's a lot of connectivity, in particular with New Japan Pro Wrestling and CMLL, so that's been really great. And we've also booked talent from other promotions all over the world, and a lot of great lucha libre stars. And I am really enjoying what we're doing, in particular on Saturdays with Hologram.
Well, the early parts of Hologram's AEW career has been so exciting because I enjoyed the work that perhaps this masked man did all across the world. To see this character from your eyes, which I understand was your vision, your concept, to see it come to fruition, can you talk to us a little bit about Hologram and your impact behind the output we've gotten so far?
Yeah, Hologram's character I've really wanted to see in wrestling for a long time. It was a luchador I had envisioned a long time ago. And honestly, this is the person I'd wanted to play that role, to be that wrestler. And he was a fantastic young talent. I saw him at PWG, and he was 18 years old. And we brought him when he was a teenager to Wednesday Night Dynamite, which is on TBS tonight. But we brought him almost 5 years ago, over 4 years ago, about 4.5 years ago, right after the original Revolution in Chicago, one of the greatest AEW shows ever. Like literally less than 2 weeks later, everything was shutting down. It was a crazy time in the world. We had brought him in, and I was looking to make him Hologram then, and the world kind of went crazy, and he was locked down in Mexico for a long time, and it was a long time before he made it back to America. And then I thought eventually, as things opened up, I really wanted to get Hologram in AEW, and it's been tremendous. It was great having Hologram team with Mystico last Saturday, and also, speaking of the great lucha libre, Beast Mortos picking up one of the biggest wins of his career, pinning Mark Briscoe on Wednesday Night Dynamite last week. Very excited to see where that leads tonight on Wednesday Night Dynamite and in the future for Beast Mortos, who's another great talent.
Absolutely. Do you see in the future more characters like a Hologram coming onto television where it's an AEW vision? Because, one of the strengths of your guys' company, obviously, is it's Okada and it's Danielson, and it's people who, for those in tune, have been watching for years and years now. But Hologram is your own unique vision. Do you have more plans for that in the future with names, whether they be domestically or internationally?
Well, it just depends. A lot of times there's something that I really want to do or somebody in the company really believes in. And for me in particular, Hologram was one of those ideas I thought was perfect. And if it was a huge name star, you'd argue, why change the gimmick? And the person is a great wrestler, but I think it was the right time in their career to try something. And this is going to be the greatest success of their career, what they're experiencing right now. And I'm very excited for Hologram in AEW. And a good example of somebody who came into AEW and did something very different, kept the same name, but we didn't see the glamour Mariah May. Mariah came in with a completely different presentation, and that was something that I really believed in from the beginning when we put together this vision for Timeless Toni Storm, that she would take on a protege. I thought Mariah would be the perfect person to introduce somebody new. And yes, very established, well-known in the world of professional wrestling, one of the top young talents, Mariah May, and had been primarily before AEW in Club Venus and Stardom and the glamour Mariah May. And I think it was really great to bring her in as a new character, because clearly it was leading somewhere. There was a big payoff here. So there's times when you're really going to build to something. And I think the things we've been doing with Toni and Mariah recently on AEW television, probably some of the best work we've ever done. And I think it's really exciting. It's going to culminate in this huge match, Timeless Toni Storm versus Mariah May at Wembley Stadium. Toni Storm, obviously, that's a completely different presentation also. Now, she came in with a similar presentation to things she's done in the past, but we built towards a completely new version. And that is one of the best things we've ever done in AEW, pivoting Toni Storm into a completely different vision of what they do. So there's all different ways to evolve a wrestling personality, persona, to change things up. But a lot of times it can lead to great success. I mean, when you look back, so many of the greatest success stories when we were kids watching wrestling were big pivots. And I think it's a really interesting thing whenever you can give a wrestler an opportunity to come into a great promotion like AEW and get a national, international spotlight in 150 countries around the world on a great channel like TBS every Wednesday, like tonight, and on TNT every weekend on Friday and Saturdays. These are huge opportunities, and it might mean changing presentation, doing something different. But we also have done some great things, bringing people in, like you said, under the personality, the persona that help them get to this point. And I think more often than not, I would want to lean into exactly what helped somebody get into AEW and get a fan base, get a following, on the independents or international scene or however it happened. I think there's a lot of different ways to present a wrestler, and that's one of the great things about wrestling.
For sure. Absolutely. Talking about All Out, tickets are available now at AEWTix.com for both the September 6th Collision taping and the September 7th All Out pay-per-view. I was at All In 2018, All Out in 2019, and then the ensuing All Outs that have happened post-pandemic. I'm curious now, as we come up on 5 years of AEW, obviously past that mark at Double or Nothing, but the 5th All Out incoming. How do you feel the DNA of the company has changed in the last 5 years?
It's changed a lot, but I think there's a lot of great growth and things that I'm really very happy about. To have AEW, where we started with 2 hours a week on TNT, and it's grown to 5 hours on TBS and TNT, going from one night of TV a week to 3. These are exciting opportunities. And right now, it's the most important time ever in AEW. We're on the verge of the most important deal we'll ever make, this upcoming media rights. And, it's been great working with Warner Brothers Discovery on the future. And for all these years, we've had so much great experience with Warner Brothers Discovery. And now, under the leadership of David Zaslav, the company, for us, the connection, the things we've been able to do, I think it's getting stronger and stronger. In Chicago specifically, we did one of my favorite Dynamites of all time this past month with AEW Beach Break. And having that show on Dynamite, that was part of this great partnership with Warner Brothers Discovery. Shark Week is something that's very important to the company, and with good reason. It's a huge tradition, and it helped get the company to where it is now. And I know it's really important to Mr. Zaslav and Bruce and Kathleen and all the top executives. And that's why I took so much pride in putting together one of the best Dynamites we've done. And it really set off a run of some of the best Dynamites when we went to Chicago, and we had great matches and moments like, of course, Bryan Danielson versus Pac, and just a stacked show top to bottom. And to have Ospreay versus Garcia and then MJF at the end, it was one of the best shows, and it set off a run of shows this past month. It's been some of our best shows, then going into Calgary out of that show in Chicago for the Owen Hart Cup finals. And we did it all really building off Shark Week to do a
Yeah.
beach break, and went to the Shed Aquarium, and we're filming the sharks at the Shed Aquarium, filming North Avenue Beach, which is perfect time of the year to go do that. So with Shark Week being in July this year, at that time, we really capitalized on it. And that's the kind of stuff I think we take a lot of pride in. And as we've grown as a company, we've gotten really strong there in building these relationships. And I think now, over 5 years, it's really been building to this point where AEW is going to jump into the media rights and be a very profitable, successful company that has lived up to every expectation we ever could have had, because we've done so many amazing things in these years. We've had all these amazing pay-per-view records. We've really come in, we've done pay-per-view numbers, whether adjusted or straight up, however you want to look at them, head to head, very strong compared to the last few years of WCW. And I think that's really a success story. People don't necessarily, everybody know. I think the pay-per-views are really fun, but it's a really interesting business point that our business on pay-per-view, it's continued to get stronger. This year's been great for us. We've had some huge events, including Revolution, which was one of our biggest pay-per-views ever, for the retirement of Sting. And, that was a 3-year self-contained story during the 5-year run that you just asked about. And I think that the arrival and the return and Sting's great run in AEW that culminated in Sting and Darby Allin winning the World Tag Team Championships, I think there's been great stories we've told, and now we're telling really great stories. I mentioned Timeless Tony Storm and Mariah May. Both of them have come in during this time, and what we're doing with them is some of the best storytelling and some of the most exciting work we've ever done in AEW. And now, and thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Well, I got to say, Case, that, I can tell you're a real wrestling fan, and, to hear that kind of insight from you and feedback, that means a lot. And I'm also really excited about Bryan Danielson putting his career on the line at Wembley Stadium against the AEW World Championship against Swerve Strickland, the world champion, title versus career. And Swerve Strickland's been on such an amazing run. He beat Samoa Joe for the world title. He's had Hangman Page's number time after time. He beat Christian Cage for the world title. He beat Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door, something nobody had ever done in AEW. And then Swerve Strickland on Team AEW was able to finally beat the Elite, something nobody had been able to do. And I think Swerve Strickland's been on this amazing run at the top of AEW, and now he has something amazing in front of him, this great opportunity to be the one to potentially end one of the most legendary careers ever in wrestling, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. And Bryan Danielson is now in his final countdown.
It's incredible. No, it's been a remarkable journey to watch. I'm so glad you talked about the growth in terms of television and television hours that you're producing, because no matter what anybody says, the 5 years of AEW has been an unmitigated television success. I'm thrilled for the ratings that you guys have had. Obviously, it's only grown since the inception. And when AEW started, it was your vision of pro wrestling. But now you have 2 additional shows other than Dynamite. You have Ring of Honor. You have your responsibilities with the Jaguars, responsibilities overseas. What is the procedure in place? How many people are, for lack of a better term, in the room helping you construct TV on a weekly basis?
It depends on the show and the time of year. And it could be anywhere from 4 to 5 to 10. And there's a lot of times there's top wrestlers in that room. And whether it's Bryan Danielson or Christian Cage or Mercedes Moné or top stars, Darby Allin, FTR, there's a lot of people that'll come in and I'll have a very long conversation with. And of course, Timeless Tony Storm and Mariah May. A lot of the great wrestlers will come in and we'll have a conversation about what's happening on the show, about the matches coming up, about what we're planning. And at any given time, I'd say there could be 5 to 10 people in my office. Sometimes you want to talk to people one-on-one, or if it's a tag team 2-on-1, or but really we have a great team and a lot of people that add a lot of value. We've had some people that have added great insights and values lately I really like working with. And there's some people that have been with us since the beginning. And I think it's a great group. And now with 5 hours of TV across TBS tonight and TNT every weekend, it's a great opportunity for a lot of people to contribute ideas. And we have a lot of great brainstorming sessions.
Good, good. I have two more questions for you, if you don't mind.
Please.
One being, 6 months ago, I believe it was maybe after the final battle press conference, you said to be AEW is to be under constant attack. And I think that is true. And I write for voiceswrestling.com, and I'm proud of the work we've done in navigating some of the WWE PR minefield. 6 months after that quote, do you feel like it's gotten easier or harder existing as the shell that is AEW?
I think it's a great question. I think that's a legitimate thing I said, and it is a challenging thing to be the challenger brand, but it's also a great opportunity. Bringing wrestling back to TBS and TNT every week, it means a lot. It's a great American tradition. And I've really, I think, communicated that very well, that it means a lot to me and to the American people to have wrestling on TBS and TNT every week. To be on TBS tonight, I don't take it for granted. We've done over 250 episodes now on Wednesday nights, and doing this every week on TBS, it's something that I'm very well aware of what a great thing it is for everybody that we can do this, for all the people that work here and for all the fans. And pro wrestling's a 52-week-a-year business. It's a very, very challenging grind, and I love it. I think that it is difficult to be the challenger brand, and there are great examples of this. I think Voices of Wrestling in particular has done a great job covering these things. You know, in general, I think will come under scrutiny for almost anything I say. So
and by no means do I mean to back you into a corner, but I also think what you said is true. And I've watched the existence of it since day one, and I've seen grifter after grifter attempt to paint you in a picture that I don't necessarily think is accurate.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Case. And I feel that way too. And I'm glad that you see it and feel that way. I think AEW is a great company, and there are a lot of people out there that don't want to see it succeed and spend a lot of time trying to stop it. But that's the fight that basically every challenger wrestling promotion has fought for decades. And it's great standing here right now, technically sitting here with you right now, ahead of tonight on TBS, Wednesday Night Dynamite. We have so many great things on the show tonight, and I'm really excited about it. One thing in particular that I'm really excited about, and hopefully your listeners will tune into TBS tonight to see this, we have 3 generations of legends, and there's a real story to be told here. We've talked about the great stories we're telling, Timeless Tony Storm and Mariah May, so many great things happening across the show, and the Women's World Championship is a great picture right now. But also the AEW World Championship. I mentioned Bryan Danielson is in the final countdown of his career, and it's possible Wembley Stadium will be his final match. And I know that this year, these are some of our final chances to watch Bryan Danielson week in, week out. He's really delivered. He came there to Chicago. It was a hometown match for me. I wanted to deliver something really special at the Wintrust Arena for all my family and friends, and some of the best wrestling fans on the planet in Chicago. And I think Bryan Danielson and Pac had that classic match. And what Bryan did to earn this title shot, it's phenomenal. But he has to be ready at Wembley Stadium for somebody that will do anything to win. Swerve has shown time after time he will do absolutely anything, whatever it takes, to win a big match, to retain the world championship. And Swerve is the top dog. And it's a really exciting time. And this week on Wednesday Night Dynamite, Bryan is going to go out there and take on somebody that has a vested interest in this, and somebody that was a big believer in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, and somebody who competed in the tournament and now wants to see Bryan Danielson go on after winning that Owen Hart Foundation Cup and go to Wembley and make this happen. And that is Double J Jeff Jarrett. And Jeff Jarrett is somebody who's had an incredible wrestling career. It's amazing to see Jeff Jarrett still wrestling on television, to see Jeff Jarrett on TBS tonight, after all the years of Jeff Jarrett on TBS. But also, speaking of TBS, something very special to have 3 generations of great pro wrestlers out there, to have Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon in the Final Countdown, somebody who for the last 2 decades to me has been maybe the top star in pro wrestling and has done it everywhere he's been. And the one thing he's not done is been the AEW World Champion, but he is against an insurmountable task at Wembley Stadium in many ways, in Swerve Strickland. So I am very excited for that. But to think that tonight we'll have 3 generations of pro wrestlers on TBS with Bryan Danielson, Jeff Jarrett, somebody who has these amazing credentials across decades, and then one of the greatest legends ever on TBS, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, special guest at ringside for this match. And to think we're going to North Carolina, Winston-Salem, which is beautiful pro wrestling country, as we all know, and we're going to have Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at ringside for Jeff Jarrett versus Bryan Danielson. It's an amazing poster just to see those 3 faces together, and I can't wait for that match tonight. And I won't take anything for granted with Bryan being in the final countdown of his career right now in AEW.
Absolutely. Well, I know I'll be watching. I hope our Q101 listeners are going to be watching. Before you go, let me ask you one more thing. I know you got to go in a minute here, but I'm going to go off the board. As somebody that's been covering Dragon Gate for a decade now, I am just so curious. You talked earlier about how you intended to bring in Hologram perhaps earlier, but COVID got in the way of it. I know by the time that you got your hands on him, he had already left Dragon Gate, but could you perhaps at all offer any insight to what seemed like a brewing story between CIMA and the Dark Order 4 years ago? Because the pandemic obviously took away Strongheart's plans to move to North America. They were going to do AAA. It seemed like they had a lot more in store for AEW, and yet that was all washed away by COVID. And I know me and my circle that I talked to are all desperate to know if you have any, if you could reveal any plans for what CIMA was supposed to do.
Well, at some point, I would love to have CIMA back. And I would love to have the Stronghearts back. You know, T-Hawk and Lindemann were excellent.
Very much so.
Those guys did a fantastic job. And it's great to hear that there's interest in Chicago at the Voices of Wrestling and these great outlets, Q101, to see the Stronghearts back in AEW. And I would not be opposed to that at all. I think it's great. And, you know, I would love to see the Stronghearts and the Dark Order pick up because, believe me, it's not something we've closed the book on. Just like nobody knows when Shaquille O'Neal left the ambulance, it remains to be seen, my friend. So
it's a great mystery.
It's a great question, Case, but you know, that chapter is still open. You never know. And that's a great question. And sooner or later, I look forward to maybe answering it for you.
Wonderful. All right. Well, Tony, thank you for your time. Tickets available now for both the September 6th Collision TV taping and the September 7th All Out pay-per-view from the Now Arena at AEWTix.com. Tony, it has been a real pleasure. I hope we talk again soon, okay?
I hope we talk again soon as well. It means a lot to come back to Chicago. Like I said, I went to the University of Illinois. I grew up in Illinois, in Champaign, downstate. My parents moved up to Chicago, downtown Chicago, and I've spent a good part of the last 20 years in Chicago. To come back there, it means the world, and that's why we always try to go the extra mile to put on the very best shows in Chicago. I thought that last year All Out was maybe the best wrestling pay-per-view we did all year, and it's one of the best pay-per-views we've done. And All Out, it will be even stronger this year. I think moving it back a week will make the show and the weekend even stronger. I can't wait for a great All Out. I love the Now Arena. My college roommate lives 10 minutes from the building. I can stay with my college roommate. I've done it for the original All In and stayed in his guest bedroom, you know, so I don't brave the traffic coming out of the city. But it's, if you are coming from the city to go to All Out or Collision the night before, it's worth it. It's going to be worth it. And it's going to be a great weekend for everybody around the Now Arena, Hoffman Estates, Schaumburg, Palatine, everybody out there, whether you went to Hoffman Estates or Schaumburg or Fremd or Palatine or all these other great schools out there, and all my friends from college that will be there. I can't wait to see you all at All Out, and hopefully come to Collision the night before also. And check us out tonight on TBS, please. It's on at 7 o'clock on TBS tonight, and it's going to be a great show. I really appreciate the fans in Chicago, and I really appreciate you having me on, Case, and asking such great questions. And thank you for supporting AEW and giving us a chance.
Thank you, Tony. Have a good one.
You too, man.